joined by Ian Salmon to talk about whatever happened to Billy Kenny, which is not an Everton play, I believe.
It's not an Everton play. It's by an ex-Everton footballer, but it's not an Everton play. He does spend the first hour becoming an Everton footballer and picking up an injury. The second act goes somewhere else altogether. It's the rest of his life, and the rest of his life
I mean, it'd be all right if it was an Everton play, but because there's lots of good stories to be told about Everton Football Club, but it's bigger than that.
It's about the ambition of the working class. It's about a lad who was born in Burlington Street, just between Scotty and Voxey. For anybody outside Liverpool, Scotland Road and Vauxhall Road. The road's going into town, main channel out to the north end. But he's born literally there. He's born in basically tenements piled on top of each other. And he's resolutely working class, even though his dad played for Everton in the 70s. But it was before there was any real money in the game. It was a short career. So Billy's born into basically a struggling period in Liverpool's history. And he grows up with the only thing he has is this desire to play for Everton Football Club. Could have played for us, could have played for United. Ferguson wanted him really, really badly. Ferguson has him at United for, I think, 6 weeks across the summer.
Really?
Yeah. Plays with Ryan Giggs. He used to play against Ryan Giggs all the time. He played with Ryan Giggs. So he's coming up at that period. And he basically, Ferguson says to Brian Kidd in front of him, this is my boy. This is what we need. This is what we need at United. But he only ever wanted to go to one place. He had better offers from United and from Liverpool. And he grew up hating Liverpool, obviously with a vengeance, as is his job as a Blue.
Yep.
But speaks very highly of Kenny because he was there under Kenny for a few weeks when he was on trial there and loved the experience. He went down to Wembley in '88 for the cup final.
Must have been delighted.
He was delighted, but he was wearing a Liverpool trackie, so he'd never lived that one down.
So the play's been successful.
Yeah,
it's gone really, really
so.
well.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a change of direction for you. I think it's the first time you've done anything football, is that right?
Well, those 2 weeks is tangentially football because it's about the 2 weeks before Hillsborough, but the one thing I wanted to make that play about was not about football.
Exactly, yeah.
And to make it about what life was like. This is directly about football and directly about addiction and mental health and what injury does and how your upbringing in the area you come from constrains the expectations that you're given.
And have you enjoyed the process of this one?
It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been an absolute joy it's terrible to say it's been an absolute joy too because it's a really dark story. Basically, Billy's girlfriend saw Jay Johnson, the actor, in a viral video called Lads, 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 which people may have seen. Mm-hmm. He's walking around like Everton Brow, walking around town, a poem about men's mental health. And Jackie, Billy's girlfriend, says to Billy, he'd be great as you, wouldn't he? And Billy wasn't overly anything, But Jackie approached Jay. Jay approached Mikey, who directed Comeback Special in those 2 weeks with me. And Mikey approached me and said, do you fancy doing this? Basically, Mikey went, Jay, Ian, Jay, sit down and have a conversation. We sat down and had a conversation for an hour. A week later, we were sitting in a room with Billy himself. And we basically did about 4 hours of Billy one day, 4 hours another day. The whole play was told from Billy's words. So everything that's in it has come directly from Billy to us. And then it's been a case of taking what was pertinent and moving it around. That's
a really interesting process, though, to literally tell that story and get, so almost word for word, get that story in that sense. It's just a really interesting storytelling process. I mean, you must have enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's that weird thing of, from, in terms of writing the film, the actual storytelling is one thing, but in this, you don't start off with, well, you never start with a blank canvas because you start with the costs and you start with, everything changes the blank canvas. But this is the case starting with our interview with Billy, podcasts Billy had been on, interviews Billy had done on websites and in papers.
Got the voice from minute one.
Got the absolute voice from minute one, so could speak as Billy immediately. But then the weird thing is you can go into the rehearsal room with the actor and you're using Billy's actual words verbatim. It doesn't necessarily mean that they sound right on stage.
Yeah.
There's a moment in the second act where Billy summed it up by saying, bittersweet, a life. And we looked at it, going through it, we couldn't make it work in the play because it sounded too poetic to be spoken by the character.
Yeah.
It was the one line in the play that sounded like a playwright had written it.
Yeah.
And everything sounded like Billy Kenny had said it, and I'd gone, I'll have that bit there. But no, there were loads of bits where I'd massage little things. The commentary for the Derby match itself is my commentary from sitting watching the Derby on repeat. And then this bit here is Billy's perfect summation of his life, but we couldn't make it land dramatically on stage. Sneaked a bit of it in on the last couple of nights, once you've warmed up and you're flying with a bit. But the story's a tragedy. For those who don't know, I don't know how much you know, he's man of the match in the derby in '92. He's 19. He's on 35 quid as a YTS, and he's running the Merseyside derby in a brilliant way. He's looking at, he goes away with England under 21s, he's looking at Paul Linton going, I could have your shirt. I mean, he's saying to us, he was a great player, Ince's a great player, but I reckoned I could just do a bit more. My range of passing, my physicality, I could do more. Billy knows what talent he had. And most people in football in Liverpool know what Billy had in terms of talent. Jay has spoken to people who've been involved in football for a long time and asked them who was the best young talent he worked with, Gerrard or Rooney, and they said no, it's Billy Kenny, by a mile. That's how highly he was held. And at the end of his first season, he gets shin splints, he gets compartment syndrome in his calf, which basically means your calf muscle has grown too big for the skin that's contained in. He has 2 operations, 42 stitches in each leg, and at the point that he has the operations, he starts drinking. And drinking in Liverpool in the early 90s with the whole dance scene leads to ecstasy, leads to cocaine, leads to 25 years of addiction to cocaine. And so the second half is his journey through exactly how dark his life becomes. And at the same time, you sit down with Billy and he's one of these people you warm to immediately because he's just a lovely bloke and he's very open and he'll tell you anything about himself. And no matter how dark it was, there's bits in there that are just absolutely funny.
So it is on at the Bombed Out Church. When?
Yeah. 21st July as part of the Liverpool Theatre Festival, which is an excellent festival. Did the Bombed Out Church. I had a play in it last year and the year before. Lovely place to play. It's a great place. And yeah, we're doing 21st July, one night only. It's possibly the last time we do it because Jay, whose venture it basically is, really, he's got a month at the Royal Court coming up in August, and he's got TV work coming up, and nobody else is stepping in and doing the part because it's his show. So this may be the last time you get a chance to see it.
Maybe the last time you get a chance to see it. Get down 21st, Friday the 21st at the Bombed Out Church.